What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good Wolf Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato. Today I'm here with Miss Cassie Ray. Pleasure to see you again.
Always good to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're like, you have been with me all day. Why are you pretending like, yeah.
Good to see you in this part of.
Good to see you in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Yes, in this part of the apartment, in this nook of the apartment. For those of you watching on video, you may notice that the background is different and that we have some different surroundings. So Cassie and I are on, we got kind of a lot of things going on. We are in the process of building a house. Not that it has started to be built, but it is in the process of processing. We've started talking to people in order to make it be built. So I figured one of the easiest ways to start to save a couple bucks, about $300 a month, is shut down the office and come and just hang out here at the apartment. And here we are. So this background will change over the next couple of weeks, I'm sure, because we'll put something up and then Cassie will go, yeah, I don't know. We could do something different, and then we'll put something else up and so on. But since she's a staple on the podcast now, we gotta make sure the surroundings look just as good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So today we're going to talk about how to fail and still succeed. Failure is definitely one of those touchy subjects in life that scares the crap out of people, which is why I would argue most people don't try the things that they want to try. They don't pursue the endeavors they want to pursue, whether that's something as simple as starting to exercise or whether that's starting a business or anything. It's easy to get excited about starting something, but it's different to actually take steps to do that. And which we'll talk about in a little bit, you've taken some drastic steps over the last couple of months to make to move forward toward a dream that you've been thinking about for a decade plus at this point. So, which is super cool to be a part of, and I'm grateful that I'm a part of it. But anyway, this was a topic that Cassie brought up, and it certainly resonated with me because, being somebody who owned my own training facility for 10 years and trained people for 15 plus years, I saw this tendency through and through. So it's certainly a topic that we could talk exhaustively about, but we'll see what we get through today. So how'd you come about today's topic?
Sure. So I am reading a book by Grant Cardone, 10X, amongst the many other books to just help improve myself and my future goal of opening my own business. And there was a quote in there that I used and shared with on my social media, but I feel like it was a good topic to talk about, especially since, like you just said, we both have kind of experienced these things, and my perception, I think before I read it, was changing, but now as I continue to read it in the book and just his different perception on it, I don't know, just changes the way that I'm thinking about it, and the way I thought about failure before is probably how 99% of people think about failure. So I'm not trying to pretend like all of a sudden I figured it out, but the quote that resonated with me was, never reduce a target, instead increase action. So when I read that, a target, I naturally thought of some sort of goal. And goals can be anywhere from you're opening your own business to I want to personally train somebody for a month, or we talked about exercise, I want to lose 10 pounds. So goals can be short-term, long-term, large, small. And a lot of times I think we set goals that are comfortable and obtainable because we are taught that failure is bad, and failure has, again, that negative connotation of, well, if you fail, then you probably shouldn't have tried doing it, or, well, you didn't make it, so let's try to be a little more conservative next time. Because if you're not failing, you're succeeding or reaching the goal. And reaching a goal always feels good because you've accomplished something. But at what cost?
And that's the part that people don't look at,
Right.
is what's the cost of you not setting a different goal and not reaching a different level that potentially probably you could have reached anyway, probably doing the same level of effort, but you didn't because there was some underlying belief that you couldn't do it or something to that effect.
Right.
So yeah, goal setting is a very interesting, and I would say beaten up topic. Because number one, people make it too complicated than what it is. And on the other end, people just don't look past. The problem is we use our past, our previous achievements as our anchor for the goal. So if previously, especially in the same realm, if previously you have done little to nothing, then how can you assume that you're going to do better in the future, right? So your mind uses this anchor of either I haven't done anything, or I've failed miserably at this before, or I just haven't done well at it. Exercise is a perfect example. I've tried losing weight 1,000 times. I'm going to still shoot to lose this 10 pounds, even though I have 50 to lose. So you have that anchor in your head, and that becomes hard and challenging to overcome. I think there's also a societal piece to it, which is most people probably wouldn't admit that that part is there, but most of society doesn't like when people set big goals. So when you do, there's people that are maybe potentially excited for you, but it's not really truthful excitement. It's like, oh, that's cool that you're going to try and do something like that. But that's the point. Is like they think you're just trying to do it. They don't even believe that you're going to do it.
Right.
There's a good chance that you don't believe that you're going to do it. So you have like all these barriers that you have to overcome whenever you think about setting a different level of goal. Whenever you think about like trying to pursue something that is beyond just 10 pounds, or just having a small business that just makes it, or whatever else, even a career, if like you're going down a career path, even like, oh, I want to get just to manager, or to, some level that is above base pay rate, whatever that might look
Right.
like. So I don't know. I feel like there's certainly a lot of things to overcome. I think like for me, being a person, and this is another really reason why it's hard for people. And this scared you when I talk about these kinds of things in the beginning, it scared you a lot. Not scared you, maybe it's not the right word, but like you said, you just couldn't wrap your mind around it. But like, I have no problem thinking about a big picture thing. I can think about it, and it could be 10 years down the road, but I have no problem like visioning that and like what that big vision looks like, and like putting that, articulating it, thinking about it, and then going for it. And then I can just go for it. And when I would say stuff to you about like the gym that you're wanting to do, you're like, I can't. I just want to open a gym. I don't know what you're saying to me right now. So there's certainly a level of like there is an ability to be able to push through the discomfort of questioning yourself about even being able to do it.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we'll go back and we'll go to the gym idea. That gym, like you said, that gym idea has been in my wheelhouse for back burner, side burner, way back burner, other house of a burner.
Yeah. Lots of different burners this
Yeah.
gym has been on.
And I worked mostly in athletic training, and I've worked a ton of different jobs. I've built my way up in athletic training. I've worked at multiple different schools and all this stuff. And I think a big thing about setting a goal, I never felt like I was failing because I still accomplished what I wanted to at those jobs and even added a little bit more to my job title because it was things that interest me. And I think over time, those small additions of, not, I don't even know if they're goals, they were just projects, I guess. The end result at the end of the year, I was still just completing a year in athletic training. But the goal that of my passion, which I really didn't start discovering or listening to, I guess is a better way to put it.
You've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until like 3 or 4 years ago when I started adding more of the stuff I was interested in. And then it slowly molded into I'm just going to take a jump and completely follow strength conditioning and do personal training, which is scary because I'm good at athletic training. I went to school for athletic training. I know what I'm doing when I walk into that setting, what I'm doing every day. Things will change, obviously, but a huge reason I was holding on to that was because it was comfortable. And now I understand being uncomfortable is the only way to move forward. And for me, I did a bunch of uncomfortable things at one time, which I'm not going to say I recommend or don't recommend, but yeah, I think I just got to the point where I was like, okay, something needs to change. And then I just did it. Can't really explain why, but again, the last couple of years, things were changing. I started thinking about where my life was. And even though my future goal is to open the gym, even just making that big step away from athletic training and not even totally, to be honest. So I guess I'm still holding on to a little bit of comfort, but we know that. But even just making that change was huge for me. And now that I'm setting this bigger goal, I know there's going to be failures along the way because I've never run a business before. I've never done a lot of stuff revolved around that. I've done it in small little pieces, but I've always had that comfort mattress behind me. And soon enough, I'm just going to pull the mattress away. And that's 100% scary because I've been leaning on the mattress for a while. And I still feel like I've grown as a person. I'm a very good professional, but I still, that extra little gap, and understanding that failure will come at some point is scary for me because I've always been successful. In what I'm doing that year or those 2 years or whatever. So opening my mind up to that is big, but I think, again, going to that quote of setting that kind of like medium level goal or moderate level goal, yes, you get there, but once you get there, do you really feel like you've accomplished something? Maybe you do, but do you also feel like maybe you could have done a little bit more? And that was the big thing we talked about was, okay, would you rather get to that medium level goal and still feel like there's some fuel in the tank and you probably want to do a little bit more, or set that really high goal and maybe in the time frame that you set, you don't make it, which would be considered a failure. But is it really, I think the idea of failure or the word failure is similar to diet. Like
Interesting.
diet, when you say, oh, I'm going to go on a diet, people are like, oh, it's restrictive. Oh, you shouldn't cut out things. But the word diet just means
What you're eating.
what you're eating. So I think, like you said, there's a huge societal factor. Society has just made the word failure a bad thing. But a lot of the books we've read, a lot of things I hear, like failing only allows you to relook at what you did, what you've accomplished so far, and what you can continue to accomplish. So you didn't quite make it there, but that doesn't mean that high goal that you set, you should just stop. And I think that's what most people do. Like you said, people want to lose 50 pounds. They only lost 10. So maybe they're just like, well, I only lost 10 in that time. I was supposed to lose 50. So like 50, I'm never going to lose 50 now. And then they just give up. So, and then go back to the comfort mattress.
That's a great analogy.
I'm not really sure why.
That's a great analogy.
Mattresses are comfy.
They are comfy. They are comfy. The right mattress, of course.
Right.
You got to have the right one.
Of course.
Only ours.
Right.
Other mattresses, not so much. Not so much. Yes. So there's a whole lot to unpack there. I think for you, what's interesting now that we're talking about it is not only were you used to succeeding, you were used to exceeding because, again, not only for most of your jobs were you doing athletic training, you were also doing strength conditioning at a lot of them. And then beyond that, you were building gyms for most of the places that you went to. So I'm like, anytime, whenever we first started talking, I'm like, she's telling me all the stuff she did. I'm like, girl, you built 3 businesses, but you built them for everybody else. And that's, you say, yeah, I'll do this for you. Sure. Let me do this. So yes, you're used to exceeding in your area of what you're doing. So I think what's hard for people is they look and they think, well, this area, starting a business, is much different than anything that I've done. So I'm going to have a hard time, and there's a bigger chance that I'll fail because I don't know, because I don't have the knowledge base.
Right.
But it is very easy to overlook all of the success that you have had, right? So you have built so many, and I'm just, at this point, I'm using it as an example, and I think most people can like put this in your own context. But like Cassie has done so many things and succeeded at so many things, that it's absolutely belligerent to even think about. And all of that is relevant to this thing over here. In your mind, it's like, oh, this is business and I don't know business. Well, that's true. The knowledge base may not be there, but you have succeeded in many, many thousands of different ways. And so you can take that ability to succeed, which is an ability in and of itself, right? That ability to succeed and transfer it over here. And all you're basically doing is taking all you've done is learned how to like problem solve through things and how to figure things out and how to do this, that, and the other thing. And that's all this is. Like, that's all this is over here. So, like, if you're listening, I can guarantee you that anybody listening to this has quote unquote succeeded in something, right? We're all good at something, whether that's cooking, whether that's taking care of children, whether that's business, whether that's a relationship, whether that's something. Like, we're all good at something. It's just, we all are.
Yeah.
So if you have this inkling to do something different, remind yourself that you have the skills and abilities to problem solve because you've done it in another area. You've done it somewhere else. You figured it out in another scope. So you just have to not be as intimidated by the idea of it being a different area.
Right.
You just take the same skills you used here and apply them here now. And that's all that it's doing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So again, just going back to the fear of setting a big goal. That's why that's another reason why is like, you don't think you have the skills and abilities, but really you do have the skills and abilities. You just need the knowledge at that point.
Right.
And that's all you need. And that takes just getting in and doing.
And effort.
Yeah. Actions.
Yeah.
Increasing actions. And that goes back to the quote. But let's go back to talk a little bit more about why setting a higher goal and failing is still more productive than setting a lower goal and succeeding. Excuse me. So why would you say it would be, give me an example of how it would be more effective, how someone would come out better if they set this big goal that seems just not maybe outrageous, but just seems out of reach to them.
Sure.
And they only reach 80% of it versus if they set a small goal and actually reached it.
Yeah. So when you think about setting a larger goal, you already know there's going to be a lot of things that you have to do to get there. And you're like, well, this is going to take so much more time, so much more effort, so much more networking, all of this stuff. And so naturally, even just to get to 80% of that higher goal, you're already putting in so much more effort because you know it's going to take it to get there. If you have that smaller goal and maybe you've already reached something similar like that, you're like, oh, I've kind of done something like this. I only really need to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's really not that far. I could probably grab it right now, sort of thing. So the effort and the energy that you put into even just getting to that 80%, you're saying, could also open up other doors. You could learn a lot more, which could be beneficial to get the extra 20% to your goal. I feel like you're just gonna put a lot more effort and time into the steps it's going to take to get to that goal, that higher set goal. The lower set goal is just essentially setting a ceiling for yourself. And I think, especially for me, self confidence was always a big thing. Like, I know I did all this stuff, but like, am I really that good? Or do I really feel like I could do this? So I feel like setting the lower goal, you also kind of like dampen your self confidence a little bit for the same reason that I'm saying by putting more effort into it, by exposing yourself to more things, which also might expose yourself to more uncomfortable conversations or uncomfortable situations. Like, asking someone if they want to do personal training and they're like, well, it's a little more expensive, or no, I'm not looking to do
Literally the
it. Yeah.
conversation you had
Not
yesterday.
looking to do it right now, and someone just said no, but that doesn't mean the next 5 people I talk to are going to say no. So again, going back to the book, they're saying it's better to talk to 10 times more people than one. And the more you do it too, and the more you expose yourself to those, what I call uncomfortable situations, the less uncomfortable they'll be. So we talk about all the time, just our communication just between us. When we first had those conversations, it would take me 20, 30 minutes to even try to formulate something that sounded like what I was trying to bring across to you. But now I think from all of the conversations we have
Conversations.
and you kind of probing questions and stuff, I have gotten a lot more comfortable with my answers, which is also just increasing. All right, I'm saying this and I know I want to say this. This is actually how I feel, or listening to my feelings. And there's still times when I'm like, do I want to do that? Do I not? But I think all of those are still growing opportunities. And that's in a relationship, but in business, I would imagine the same in networking and trying to find somebody to help run your bit. Like, all of that stuff and those communication are all just things that you're, again, putting more effort into, which you might not have done if you set a lower goal, because it probably didn't take that much effort to get there anyway. Even though you feel good about getting there, but all of this, all the extra stuff that you're doing in that time frame to reach that outlandish goal that society is telling you is too far to reach or whatever, it's just going to benefit you down the long run. And it might be a very long run. I don't know. Like, that goal, you set it and be like, oh, it could be a year, and it ends up being 3 years. But if you're still trying to get to that goal, those 3 years are probably more likely to be more productive in the end of it.
It goes back to the luck conversation we had the other day. Your chances of getting lucky increase with the actions that you take, the things that you do. People look at other people, people look at rich people look at people who literally get lucky. There is, of course, a I would say a lucky category where it's like literally that person just stumbled and bam, like something
Yeah.
happened. But that's 1%. It's very small. It's very tiny. And you should never compare yourself to that person and never look at that and go, how do I do that? No, you should never do that. Like, it's just not useful. You just can't count on that to be. But then there's like the 20 to 30% of people who are moderately or even uber successful, who people look at them and they're like, oh, they just got lucky. And it's like, well, maybe, but why? Right?
Yeah.
So, but they got lucky because they did a lot of things. They just started doing things, and then they did more of those things. And the more of those things that you do, the more likely that some of them they're going to start to pan out, and then some of them are going to pan out bigger, and some of them are going to pan out smaller. And then maybe eventually you're like, oh, well, maybe I need to go this route because this route all of a sudden seems like it's going to be more effective. So I need to go that route. If you only do a couple of little things from time to time, and that's what small goals do, it just your mind naturally will not work hard for a tiny goal. It's just not going to happen. That's what small goals do is you take small actions. Your likelihood of stumbling upon something that is more effective and better than what you're doing is small. So those go hand in hand. I feel like this is a big mindset thing. So how do you think people start to change their mindset about, we'll start with just being comfortable setting bigger goals? Like, how do you go about?
Read the 10x rule. I think the biggest thing for me is finding people that support you in what you're doing. Because by talking about the goal more, having that goal, if you have a couple people that generally know that you can reach that goal or generally support you in that goal, because you said some people will just say like, oh, good for you, like tap you on your head.
Oh,
There probably are a lot of people that, people
Mm-hmm.
do that, and they probably are saying that because they want to do something like that and they aren't able to or didn't really think about it or whatever. But I think building off of the support from people around you that truly do believe that you can put time and effort, and whether you tell them your like high super end goal or you just tell them, hey, this is the avenue I want to go, and then they start questioning like, oh, well, what are you going to end up doing, and that just kind of that's helped me kind of build my confidence in it. But I think as we talk about setting that higher goal, it's not that you can't have other milestones. I don't want to call them I don't want to call them goals, but because we have the ultimate goal or target, you're still going to reach different things that you're like, wow, I would have never done that if I didn't do all of these things or have this end vision in mind. And I think those things maybe end up being those moderate level goals, but those aren't goals anymore. They're just stepping stones to the higher goal. So I think if you think of it that way, where maybe you do have 4 or 5 moderate level goals, but are they increasingly getting you to your end goal? And I mean, I'm again a prime example of this. I have this end goal of opening my gym and I'm doing all of these other things, but all these other things lining up to the end goal. So it's really just seeing taking your perception of what you're looking at and what you're doing on a day to day and seeing how that is going to affect that bigger goal. Again, it's hard because I think going back to the word failure and not reaching goals, when you constantly see all of this success and all of this stuff on Instagram and all of this, and you don't see all of the in-between stuff. And so until you actually attempt to make those changes, it's really hard to, other than just believing in yourself and like I said, leaning on that support system and starting to see like, oh, this is doing really well. And then it just kind of like perpetuates from there. So I think the number one thing is to stop seeing failures as an end cap on something, instead seeing just a failure as not quite getting to your goal yet.
A saying that I think about often is success looks like failure in the middle. So at every like people start easily, right? And then if they get to the other point, generally people will finish easily. If you think about a race, for instance, you start real hard and you run real hard, and then you get to the end and you run real hard, like a marathon.
Yeah.
You know, you run hard in the beginning and then you slow down and you trot. I've never ran a marathon, by the way, and I never will. And then you trot, and then once you can see the finish line, you're like, oh yeah, and then you run hard again, right? So, but in the middle, it's like I'm sure there are plenty of moments you're like, shit, God, I just want to stop. Sucks. Mile 4? Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but it's the same with anything. It always feels like failure in the middle because it's like, it feels like, man, I'm doing all this stuff and like I'm not, I can't, I feel like I'm not making any progress to this thing.
Right.
But then all of a sudden it happens and you're like, well, that was weird. I don't, like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
So for every instance, for everything, for all things, success feels like failure in the middle. And my belief is that failure really only truly ever happens if you quit. Like when it really, really, truly comes down to it, it really only happens when you stop,
Yeah.
when you quit trying to do it. And so it's not an easy mindset for sure. I mean, because it sucks not feeling like you're making progress. So figuring out how you can, to your point about the milestones, if you will, how you can set milestones and complete those milestones on the way to the goal is, I would say, one of the most important things you can do, because that's what really keeps us motivated to go.
Right.
Is those milestones, progress. We
Right.
want to see progress. We want to see something happening. So how can you set it up so that you see things moving weekly, daily, whatever it looks like to you, whatever that has to look like to you? How can you set it up so that that happens? And that way you see progress, and it keeps you motivated, and it keeps you wanting to go, and it keeps you wanting to show up. So I think that that's a really, really, really big part of it. How did you then convince yourself, well, the next how did you convince yourself to start doing things outside of having somebody there? I think that's another huge part of it. Another quote that I think about is if you want to have, not if you want to have somebody in your life that believes in you more than you do. And if you can do that, then there's no reason why you can't achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. I think sadly a lot of people are missing that. Well, I definitely did. I can't speak for you, but in my previous marriage, we just, because we wanted different things out of life, like she didn't support the path that I was going down, and that was real hard on me, like real hard on me. So now having you in my life, I see the completely other side of it, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can. What do you want me to do? Like, okay, like whatever. Like, I can do it. Like, my mind doesn't question now whether or not I can do it. Now I can actually focus on the actions that it's going to take in order to get there. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, how did you start to convince yourself to start?
Didn't really try not to think about it too much, honestly. Because I already know how I am. If I keep thinking about it, then I'm just not going to do it. And I think I've done that with a lot of different stuff. Like I used to think about, not that I still don't think about it, but what am I spending my money on? Should I be spending it on this? Could I be doing this instead? Should I be spending more time doing this and that? And the more I think about all of those different things, I either end up doing none of the things, or I talk myself out of the thing that I probably wanted in the first place, but I just didn't act on it. So for me, the first thing I did was to stop thinking so much. To be completely honest.
Fair.
Like when we had started like making the logo and, buying stuff for the boot camp, like if I thought about it, I just did it. And that, again, that's just, I know myself that if I thought about it, I'm like, well, what if no one comes to the boot camp? Then I've got all this stuff and then I just waste all this money. I could have spent it on groceries and just like kept going on that path. So I think the support from you and then just deciding that if this is the path I'm going to do, then I got to start making these small changes. It's not in everything, but I feel like every week I'm making another decision about something, and then that ultimately leads to something else that makes me think of something else that's going to build something else. So going back to just putting more effort into the end goal, things are just going to keep coming up, and then that's going to lead to other things that you're going to put effort into, which again is still all going towards the ultimate goal, but you don't have a bunch of other things kind of spreading you out. So it ends up, I think my time and my focus on a handful of things has started to narrow, and I would only imagine it's going to keep narrowing from there. So yeah, don't overthink it.
Don't think, just do.
Yeah,
A lot of truth to that one. A lot of truth to that one.
yeah,
I would also say, and you have to still take the action, which is down the road. But we were talking about before we started recording Jana and what she's doing now,
right,
and what she's in a similar kind of scenario
sure,
where she's wanting to start her own. She has started her own marketing business, and it kind of sat there for a little bit because she had this other part-time job at her church, and that was, she's comfortable doing the part-time job and she's making some money, and she's like, I just was sitting there one day and literally it's like smacked me in the face. Something smacked me in the face and said, you need to quit your job. Like, gotta quit your job if you're gonna do this. Like, you gonna take this shit seriously? Gotta quit. That's the way it's gotta be.
yeah,
And so there is a huge, lots of truth to like making a decision to set those comfortable things aside. One of the hardest things to do, especially if it's something it's fine. It's like, I enjoy doing it. It's fine most of the time.
yeah,
Like, you're sure it's a pain in the ass sometimes, but it's like, especially things that it's like, yeah, I enjoy doing this. Sure, I enjoy doing this. Yeah, it's good. Like, why would I stop this? I'll just hang on to this for now, and I'll just do this. But I'm gonna build this thing over here. Yeah, definitely. But I'm gonna hang on to this because I enjoy it and it's nice and so on and so forth. Hard, like one of the hardest things to do, for sure. And so making that decision to have I would say, cutoff period for yourself for those things, I would say, is one of the most important things. That's one of the things that we probably butted heads on the most and probably I was a little too pushy, maybe. That can tend to be that way. I think I've improved. But anyway, it was, that's one of the things I said from the beginning, and that I think that scared the shit out of you. Like Cass, like, this is something. If you want to do this, like, this is eventually you're gonna have to decide when to get this up. Like, you're just gonna have to decide. Well, no, I get that you like it. I totally understand. I closed the gym after 10 years that I loved. I loved doing it. I loved all the people there, loved the team, enjoyed it very much. Like, it was a big part it was my child, like, big time. Understand it. Totally get it. So, like, definitely that, if you're thinking, well, I guess it depends on what you're thinking about, but it's like, whatever the goal is that you want to go after, if it's really that big and it's really something that you want to pursue, those things that you enjoy. I think about nutrition in this area as well. This is all perfect example, right? Well, I don't want to give this up because I like it, right? How many times have you heard, well, I don't want to give that up. I enjoy that, right? I enjoy my beer. I enjoy my whatever, my
yeah,
cookies at night. I enjoy my insert, my chips,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Okay, I get it. Like, big fan of brownies and ice cream. Big fan of other desserts. Like, I totally understand. And yet, if you have a goal and you know that this is the thing that needs to happen, you got to give it up. At least not, I mean, well, no, I would say for most people, for that instance, like, you got to give it up. Like, it just has to go. That's just the way that it has to be. You got to give it up. So, what's the thing in your life that is comfortable and that is like this thing that, like, I can bear doing, and yet you still know that it's standing in the way because it is comfortable and because you won't let it go. It's keeping you from pursuing, going after the thing that you'll go after. Because I will 100% guarantee you, the second you let that thing go, like, you won't start you're putting a lot of effort into it now. So I'm not overlooking that at all. The second that you step away and you decide to leave NKU, I, that will be just like a hailstorm to watch. Like, to watch you, like, shift your full attention. I can't wait to see it from many levels, but just because I know the stuff that you're going to do and, like, the action you're going to take to make it happen, because you know now this is what I'm doing. Like your mind is like, now I know, like this is where I'm going.
Yeah.
So that's very real, but you have to trust yourself that that's what you're going to do. Like you have to know deep down inside, like that's what you're really going to do. And if you're listening to this, it's probably like that's what you can do if you just let go. Doesn't mean you have to let go right now. Like don't be dumb about it, for sure. Although I would argue you could probably do it sooner than later, but nonetheless, like fine, but don't find excuses. It's easy to. It's easy to justify your way out of doing something. You've done it for 12 years.
Yeah.
Maybe, well, probably it hasn't been on the radar to that serious degree, but it's like, oh, yeah, well, hey, remember this idea? Like, I'm sure it's come up like in conversation off and on over 10 years. And it's like, oh, yeah, you ever going to do that? Yeah, I think one day it's going to be fun. Like that kind of conversation,
Yeah.
right? So, but when you make a decision to do it and then you start taking action, you realize, hey, I can actually do this.
Yeah.
And probably not until you actually started doing something toward it, you were like, oh, maybe I can actually do this.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that that's a big part of it too, is like figuring out that thing that is comfortable for you. That is probably something that you enjoy, but, and this is harsh, like life is all about trade-offs. So you have to decide to let go of something that you enjoy for something that you will love and cherish and will fulfill you endlessly. That's hard to do. It's hard.
Yeah.
For sure.
That was a good soapbox.
What do you call them? Podcast reel or
Podcast Jerry.
podcast Jerry?
Don't podcast at me.
Don't podcast at me. Well, I'm on the podcast, so I can podcast at you all day long.
You're right. I'm glad you got it out here.
Oh, yeah. So this is all I need to do, set you in
Not
front
that
of the mic.
I heard snippets of that same thing like multiple times, but yeah.
Everyone listening is like, that poor girl. That poor girl. Bless you for dealing with it.
So, yeah, the last thing I want to say is going back to our friend that just started her own business and made the leap to quit her comfortable job. She was telling us the other day that her first, I don't know if it was her first client, but she put, 15 hours of work into this first client and to show him all this stuff and all this. And then she got done all this work and she never heard from the person again. So I would say the majority of people would maybe see that as well, maybe this wasn't what I was supposed to do. Or, well, I guess maybe I should just, my goal of my company looking like this, maybe I should just make it this much smaller because I just spent all this time and the person didn't even respond. Or now what am I going to do with all this stuff? But she saw it as, I'm sure she was upset. That would upset anybody. Obviously, you put all this time and effort into it, but she didn't see it as a failure. She saw it, she already has gone back and restructured how she's going to approach her next client. And I think that ultimately is like the definition of what we're talking about. So she has an end goal and she failed with her first client, but she's already taken those 15 hours of work. She's probably going to use most of that work to her advantage because it wasn't a waste of time. I'm sure a lot of her clients are going to have to use very similar things. So she's got an extra 15 hours of effort and experience under her belt, and she already knows how she's going to approach all of her future clients in a different way. So I think that's the biggest thing is don't always see because something didn't work out or you didn't quite get to that goal as a stopping point, but more as a learning point. Take a few steps back, revisit what you accomplished, what you did, pull all the positives out, and then change what didn't work out to just get past that goal. That's failure.
Very good. Okay, well said.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Appreciate y'all. Thanks so much for listening. Cassie Ray, great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Okay, I'll see you in a minute.
Yep.
Get out there and do something big.